Indeed.
Normally we'd be talking about typical Friday things like booze right now, but I have a feeling you probably want to skip that conversation, Greg.
I don't mind. I've got people coming over to the pool this weekend. It's fully loaded
Oh
waiting
no.
for them. I won't be partaking.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Weather's
you
finally
just
nice
came
out here in
back
New
from
England.
how many conferences?
Just one. I went I went to DMSC and CXO, and DMSC had a good, strong showing.
Cool.
Yeah, that's a fun one to imbibe some beverages at.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. It was a fun time. We had a good group, and Brian's CXO group is pretty stellar too, which I'm a part of, which was nice. But definitely want to take a break after a week of that.
Was DMSC in Austin this year?
It was. It was. He had it at the Marriott. I thought it went really well. I liked it in the location. I think it was more centrally located, obviously for specific reasons. But the flow of the conference was nice. The vendor layout was nice, and the topics were advanced as they typically are.
Cool.
He does put on a good show, and always a good venue.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
He's really, I really like what he's done, though. I mean, he's really come back at it. And whether we're talking CDPs here shortly or his Automotive Standards Council standardizing the way that the events are firing off for each vendor for dealers, I mean, that's a huge undertaking. And kudos to him, for putting that together. And, I would say that a large percentage, probably 80% of our main vendors are playing. There's still a small percentage that need to get on. And the sooner the industry standardizes, the better the reporting will be across the board. And then you don't have to worry about when you shift providers because it's all going to be the same metrics,
Yep.
which has been the biggest,
Yeah.
and anyone that measures effectiveness of shift, it's one measures one thing, the other one measures something else.
Mm-hmm.
It's
20 different dashboards.
between
Right.
trying to hit the ASC standards and GA4 and this little FTC safeguard stuff, all coming due at the same time has been a real fun.
Mm-hmm.
Keeps people on their toes. And this, I think the FTC stuff, the dealers that ignored it or neglected it or don't think it's going to happen, the FTC is ready to pounce on us. And I think there'll be some murmurs of lawsuits or violations, and then I think it won't be taken really seriously until
5 seconds,
maybe
you
even August.
cut off here. All right. Well,
How's
you
it
already
going?
got a sneak preview of
All
our
right, hello.
with Mr. Gray Scott.
Thank you, Alex. Yes, great Scott here.
And Gray, thanks for making DealerRefresh the spot to come out with your new business.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Alex. I appreciate the exposure. It's interesting the way it came about, and we can talk about it a little bit more later. But it was born from having to solve a problem, like most of the best tech in auto, from inside my stores, and kind of wash, rinse, repeat, and decided, wait a minute, there's something here, and other dealers need it. So we can talk about that a little later on. I know we had some other stuff we wanted to jump into first.
Yeah, for sure. I think we already started to touch on it in the pregame there. So you were just getting back from DMSC, and of course, Brian Pash has been pretty hot and heavy on the future of CDPs, so customer data platforms.
Mm-hmm.
And if anyone's paying any attention to LinkedIn, primarily LinkedIn, I guess. I think that's where a lot of the conversation's happening. And then, of course, you've got some players like Full Path um, who are in that game. You've got a couple others who are making some pretty big media splashes too, and you have also been an advocate for it publicly. So
Yeah,
so
yeah, I
great.
have.
What do you
There's a
think?
lot. Go ahead.
What do you think of them?
Well, the CDPs. So I think they're important. And I think back to 2017, 2018, before the pandemic even hit, 2019, and it was kind of the first stages of what I would consider to be a modern CDP MAP in today's standards. And I think back to my time when I would utilize outsell, for example, and I was running outsell for sales and service, and it was all about the right message at the right time to the right consumer based off your database and the behaviors that they were doing off site, right? And then having that dashboard you could log into and see exactly what's going on, and the communication pieces that they've engaged in. And the missing component is, for them and for many others, has always been the advertising piece: display, social, video, whatever it might be. And so, having had the experience early on in the implementation of these MAPs, I think they're more of an MAP or MAP pseudo CDPs. The effectiveness of them is strong as long as your database is strong. And I think the companies that are out there right now pushing their products out, sell Full Path, there's a few other ones. Um, I think they're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to be gained from having a centralized view of a consumer without tarnishing data input from maybe the sales floor.
Well, there's that. And then the other side of it too, though, is we can't track that consumer ourselves manually all across the life cycle of that consumer. And so to be able to have that done automatically is key. And then, this is at a single point. Now imagine you have it at a triple, a double, quad, a 10 store, 22 store, a large group that spreads across a couple major metros, but still within a major, a region. You can then look at following that customer all along their journey and making sure that you maintain the customer. Now, John Jones, XYZ, and Sylvia Honda may not maintain that customer, but if it's within the same family, then you're winning at the top.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to follow the customer in their journey, maintain the communication, you know, in a use case scenario, let's say that I, Gray Scott, was looking for a Honda and I purchased a Honda, but the store also had some Acuras, a BMW, and some higher end stores. And now all of a sudden I'm looking at BMWs. Yes, I did just buy a Honda, and now I'm looking at BMWs offsite, not in the same group. That's a perfect opportunity where the CDP MAP would kick in and start advertising to me about, the group's BMW location. And let's take it even a step further. Let's say that perhaps maybe I didn't buy that BMW from the group, but they got record that I did buy the BMW. What would we do next? We now focus on service. How can we get them in the service drive? So I think the ability to maintain a database at a larger scale and make sure that we deliver to the customer what they need that helps our business is the essential part of them. To set them up though is very intricate. It's not a what I'm calling a serial box solution. Turn the switch, out comes a website, plug in a few features, and off you go. There are so many integrations and um, APIs that need to be linked and advertising sources. It's definitely not for the weak at heart.
Yeah, it's definitely early.
It's very early, but I'll tell you this: everything is always early, and I was always early in everything that I did when I was in, and even now that I'm consulting in retail. Come to it early. You're going to fall flat. You're
Mm-hmm.
going to fail, or you're going to have problems. But if you're early and you perfect it, by the time everybody else gets on the train, you're 15 trains ahead, and you're running them over.
True that.
Good advice.
And I think as we look at where we are today in automotive, I hate to repeat the broken record. We got to get back to the basics. It's repulsive. It's almost as if we forgot to sell. What does marketing actually look like? Have you Googled for a car, a 2015 Ram, whatever it is, or any kind of make and model? Dealers have zero organic presence nowadays. It's all third party. It's all OEM. It's almost like SEO doesn't
Mm-hmm.
even matter. And the crazier part about this, I'm going to go on a tangent, is as an industry, we need to think not just today, but we need to think 5 years ahead. AI is real. It's not going anywhere. So are you partnering yourself with the right partners who are thinking about writing a knowledge graph formation and structured data so that the AI can pick up on what you're offering?
Yeah,
Right.
that's
Like I think we're in a
one way
pivotal
ahead of the
point
time.
where what's that?
That's thinking way ahead.
Well, I mean, it's thinking way ahead, Jeff. But think about it. If you start launching knowledge graphs and information and start launching information on Mercedes or any brand that you have that AI is now
Mm-hmm.
picking up on naturally, that's going to be a win. You know, with the search engine's moving to AI driven models, and they're far away from them being perfected. So we are years ahead.
Yeah.
But if you can somehow get into it now, wouldn't that position you better for the future?
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
And so I think about some of the things that I've done in the past. And again, I don't want this to be about Gray Scott, just thinking ahead. Back when voice search first started populating out there, Alexa, Google,
Yeah.
Siri, the idea was, could we use these to, hold on, Siri off. Could we,
Yep.
yeah, could we look for a car online? And the answer was no. And so I worked with a partner who is a data scientist essentially and great at schematic markup. And when you asked her to find a used car in Chicagoland, it would come back with Muller Honda certified as highly rated. And we were the only dealership in Chicagoland to rank for a car when you asked a virtual assistant for it. Was that
Mhm.
useful? Not really. But let's say that it did take off.
Still neat
At
though.
least we were already there and established. Yeah, no, it's a cool bar
Yeah.
trick.
Yeah.
Can
No
any of that
doubt.
be
Yeah.
utilized in an AI world now?
It could be, yeah. I mean, in theory, if you look at structured data and the data behind the site and the pages are written in a sense where an AI bot could be asked a question, it could perhaps query for the answer within your schematic markup and your data set on your page.
So it's
Are you
all.
following
Yeah.
me? I mean, it's pretty in depth. I mean, Alex, we're talking about some real
Mm.
deep tech here. This is
Mhm.
this is not going to be your little Jones key in the middle of
Yeah,
nowhere. We're talking like,
I'm looking at who's already raised their hand and said I'm here, like Rick Buffkin and Kevin Fry and Anthony Shear. Damn it, I can never say your last name, Anthony. But these are guys who are absolutely capable and
Yep.
are able to understand what you're throwing down and also able to implement it. So yeah,
Kevin's got a good
yes,
point
but someone
there.
like Kevin Fry needs to get all over Cincinnati and start plugging away and data, knowledge graph formation about his group. And
Sorry, something's wrong. Please try again.
thanks, Siri.
don't
Anyways,
put a hey.
what's that?
Just don't say like hey Google or sorry
Yeah.
triggered
That's
anyone.
what I was when I was talking earlier. It activated her, and she's been documenting all of this
Mm.
as if I was submitting an inquiry. Um, I think someone like a Kevin Fry. I think larger groups. I think those who are ahead of the curve need to. You're not going to find this with your typical automotive vendors. You're going to have to get outside of automotive. You have to get to real SEO and technical experts and find people who understand how to write in knowledge graph formation that can be picked up by the search engines and these bots. There are some companies out there right now, like I don't know if you're familiar with AutoGenius and AG Labs. They're doing some really amazing stuff when it comes to web tech, and who knows what they might have up their sleeve down the road. I don't know, but you got to look at companies like that. Who are the companies out there that are breaking convention and doing things a little bit differently? And those are going to be the ones that are going to be able to guide you to this next layer of what marketing success looks like.
So here's another one who's pretty ahead of the curve, Ryan Everson.
Yep.
And
Yeah, he's great. He's killing it. I'm envious. He's got an entire army under his wing, and they just execute on all these little projects and tasks. And somebody like him is absolutely positioned to crush this next wave.
so I think the takeaway from what you're saying here is just get your data in a foundational spot where it doesn't matter what the technology is, whether it's Chat GPTs, AI, or a voice search comes back, like
Mhm.
maybe QR codes or something along the lines makes it really popular again. Then you're just positioned to be able to tackle that. But I
Yeah,
did
I
point out,
absolutely.
yeah, what
I
Ryan's
was thinking
saying.
of where your data cleanliness, Alex. Sorry, there's a delay. I think it's getting your data in order, clean the house, right? And before we start looking at any kind of CDP or AI or any other layer, you got to make sure the house is clean. So if the house is dirty, i.e., process, taking orders, not servicing your customers, not building rapport, not doing sales 101, none of this matters until you have the basics back in order.
Yep, always. How good houses are built on good foundations.
Yeah.
So
Sorry, I missed what
CDP.
Anthony said. It was
Oh, Anthony was responding to Ryan's comment about it's too early to jump on the CDPs, and I'm a bit with Ryan in that regard.
It is.
And I think it goes back to what you were saying about the amount of effort it takes to connect all those dots. So you take, your website company, for example, needs to be like all these different events that are going on in tracking items. So it's one thing for them to standardize some of that for GA4 that's happening. And I think a lot of major website companies are doing a good job of doing that. But then you also have to do it for whatever CDP uh, you're going to be integrating with. And they might have their own standards and sets. And you just think about the effort that these companies are going through right now or did to standardize things to the ASC standards. Now you got to do that entire effort
Yeah.
again for, you know, full path or outsell or whoever else might be
Well,
there.
I don't think I think those ones are going to be a little bit more simple, Alex. I think the full paths, the outsells, the out of the box solutions with monthly subscriptions, I think they're going to get the job done. But I believe that when they're fully baked, they're going to have a lot of this kind of turnkey ready to go. The ones where you're going to have to really dig up your sleeves and really get into work is treasure data, those guys. What's the other one? Telium, Salesforce. When you start getting into the enterprise level CDPs, that's where you have to really start dialing in and getting all those connections. I believe as these out of the box solutions continue to grow and expand, they'll have that stuff prefabricated for us. As long as the vendors play nicely, and that's going to be the key. Who's going to play nice and
Mhm.
who's not? Is Cox going to play nice because they're secretly building their own? You know, or
Mhm.
are they gonna just say no, we're not playing nice, wait 2 years and we'll launch ours?
Which is they do have something like that in the works.
Do they?
No, I know they definitely do. With their 360 commerce and everything else, they've been working on something like this for a while, and it's nice to see all those pieces begin to come together. Having been there quite a while ago and watching these acquisitions and the growth of Dealer.com and Dealer Track and Cox as a whole. And it'll be nice. It'd be ideal if someone like them had one, but they still played nice with everybody else. Because I think where this is going to get really messy is when the OEMs start demanding that you use their CDP of choice. So now you have Mazda with CDP A, and then you've got BMW CDP B, and down the line. But as a group, you've chosen, say, Treasure Data. So now you've got a CDP for the group plus all these micro CDPs because that's what's being required by the manufacturer. And I think really what needs to happen is, I hate to say some standardization, but kind of a deeper understanding of why that's just messy.
Yeah,
Like
you
all the
start.
OEM programs. I'll
Yeah,
flat out say it. The OEM programs get messy and they get really messy quick. You
Oh
guys
yeah.
probably can't say that. I can. And, I think we need to really just take that look at what really is the best experience, not only for the manufacturer, for the dealer, but even the end user, for the customer. Because if I start getting email messages from the group CDP and I'm getting hammered by the store CDP, it defeats the purpose. I then hit unsubscribe, leave me alone, and now you've lost me
Mhm.
forever across the entire enterprise.
yep.
Have you guys talked to any dealers that are going down this project? I know Group One is working on some stuff, and some of the larger groups have been working on some things, and it's really exciting to hear the progress of their journey.
Yeah, coming from the vendor side, we have been in communication with some of the CDP companies to try and work with them on the integration. This is why I was coming with that comment I had about, hey, you've got to create your own set of events per each of these different platforms. But I think they're still trying to work through some of the here's our documentation and such and such. A lot of it's more you know uh, developer to developer interaction right now. So
Yeah.
there's still a lot to do.
I would say this though, Alex and Jeff. If there was a key takeaway from this particular conversation is, if you're interested in getting into the CDP system and you're not currently using some kind of a marketing activation platform, by all means, get your feet wet on that. Whether it's an outsell or an automotive mastermind or an auto alert, all these guys are trying to do something similar. But not the full CDP. And if you've never had any experience on either side, it's a great way to kind of get your feet wet and see the effectiveness of campaigns and technology and messaging like that. And
Definitely.
again, going back to Brian, watch Brian. Brian's publicly exposing his journey in this CDP with one of the large groups that he's working with. And I think really watching his journey and his communication on that journey will alleviate a lot of stress for us that are going to wait to do the same thing over time.
Yep.
I'll ask you this, and here's for anyone who's listening who doesn't still really understand how a CDP works. If you've ever walked into a competitive brick and mortar of a brand that you're familiar with, and you spend any time there, maybe even make a purchase, then you go back home later that evening, and all of a sudden there's an email from a competing brand that knew that you had stepped foot physically into a competitor. That's the job of an MAP and CDP, right? It's communicating the right message at the right time to you. And we've all been subject to it, and so now we just need to figure out a way to make it work for our people in our industry. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So GPT, do you want to jump into GPT a little bit? What are you guys doing with GPT, Alex? That's a fun one. There's a million roads we can take on that.
Yeah, there are.
I think
Go
Joe
ahead.
Hey, I
Pastell's
want
got
to
something.
stop for a second. Ryan is completely right here. Majority of the automotive CDPs today are definitely more of an MAP, and it is a way that these agencies are capitalizing on the buzz and the monthly
Buzz.
fees, and everything else. And as they progress and as they mature, they will definitely become more of a CDP. But I think Ryan's spot on. I just wanted to highlight that. I see him commenting over on LinkedIn.
Ryan usually is.
What's that?
I said Ryan usually is spot on.
Yeah.
Yep.
So GPT. Let's talk GPT.
So I see so much change in our world coming from AI and making things quite efficient. As long as we're not going down the path of this thing's coding itself and we're going to have some singularity event, I'm all for the AI.
I am too. I mean, if we can streamline operations and we can teach people how to maximize it. My son is 13 years old, and I'd love to say that he's going to be a future prodigy sports athlete, but that is far from the truth. I don't think he's going to be any kind of an athlete. So he loves tech and he loves gaming. So I've been showing him how to use AI and different platforms to create games, and said, buddy, if you become a master prompt engineer, you don't even have to go to college. You'll be able to walk right into some business and say, what are you trying to do? Oh, hold on. Give me 2 minutes. Bam, pop out a final piece, wash it, cleanse it, edit it, submit it, and go, how can I help you? Right? So I think what AI is doing is creating a whole new wave of opportunities for employment. Prompt engineers.
Sure can.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Every new technology does create new jobs. They usually create more than they kill.
They do. And
that's
one of the things I've been
fun
teaching
in the meeting,
him.
but
So, well, it's exactly. And so what I've been doing with him is we're using GPT to create text for a 10-chapter storybook about moving and making friends and then like what that's like. Then we're using Midjourney and some other AI, illustrating tools to create the illustrations for this said book. And then I've got him every night reading into a program for about 20 minutes so I can get about 100 to 120 minutes of his voice. And then he's going to be the voiceover for said book. And in less than 2 weeks, we're going to have a 10-book series, all created by AI and probably on Amazon. But it's just kind of giving him the tools now to show, okay, this is kind of the future. So I definitely don't think it's going anywhere. And when we think about what it can do for us in dealers, how many of us have social teams that kind of post the same thing over and over and over again? It's Tech Tuesdays, it's Fun Fridays. Now, yes, you can. Whoever just said that, you can ask GPT to be a prompt engineer and spit out a bunch of prompts for you. You can train it. And so it's actually, you can train GPT to do a lot of things, which has kind of led me to be able to launch the service that we're launching, utilizing AI and human capital. But if you're going back to the social media piece, let's say you've got someone who's got 17 specials or 3 specials, 6 brands, whatever it is. And they're just like, well, what am I going to say? Input those specials into Chat GPT, ask for a lot of emojis, make them sound like they're from the South or whatever region. All of a sudden, you've got your text for the next 30 days in a matter of minutes. Take that, attach that to a carousel, and off you go.
It's interesting. Yeah.
No, you've never done that? So if you go into GPT and you say RAM $1,500 off MSRP or dealer cash, and you put in just say, take these 5 specials. Now use lots of emojis and make them shine for Facebook. And I want them in English, Spanish, and Southern twang. Boom, they pop right out. For those who are in the subprime world, it's extremely helpful. And I can tell you, I had a lot of success with the campaigns that I ran like this because I certainly couldn't
Really?
think of it on my own. But I had it creating a bunch of Mitsubishi ads in Ebonics. And the conversion on these were fabulous because it spoke language and the vernaculars, and the flow and the style of speech was exactly what they're used to. So it was familiar to them to click the ad. Southern twang. Anyway, so yeah, you can ask for Southern twang, Ebonics. You can say from the north. Ask it to write something like a snotty XYZ, and it's really unique. And you just keep prompting it, right? And it gets better, and it gets better, and it gets better.
Yeah,
And
I'm
the
gonna
other
have to
one
go
was
down that,
content
Al.
creation.
I haven't tested that part out yet.
I'm
I highly
guessing.
recommend. It's really entertaining. I mean, especially with where I am right now, I've got a lot of time on my hands. But ask it to do something. Say, now take this and do it this way. Put it in Spanish, Spanish from Spain. Like so, depending on where you are, if you're in a southern region that has a lot of Latino population, they're not speaking Spanish from Mexico. They're speaking, Spanish from South America, Portuguese. So it's going to be important to be able to write in those particular dialects that speaks their language. And so these little small subtleties are big because it's more natural. And so it doesn't feel like you're trying to do something that's not natural. There's other ways like content creation, video creation, storyboarding, table format of stuff. There's so many use cases. Jeff, have you been using it at all in any of your stores?
Well, not so much for at the stores here yet, but I guess it was about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I was like, all right, I need to dabble into this a little bit more. So I've been watching quite a few different videos, and I've subscribed to a different, probably a dozen or so, I guess, different educators around it, and trying to grasp as much as I could, and then hopefully within the next month or so maybe I'll start applying it. But I'm
Yeah, I think
just
we're gonna put
scraping the
together a little
surface with
manual,
it.
a little PDF manual for dealers of just little things they can do. Because you
That'd be
take
a
a
good
small
idea.
shop. Let's take a rural Ford store who can't afford a big. They don't have a big agency. They're not paying a ton of people in marketing. You got one person that's got the internet manager hat, and they got the internet sales hat, and everything else. And so you take somebody like that and give them this toolbox. Now all of a sudden they can do the role of 4 or 5 people, keep the cost down for the dealership, have an effective use of the technology, and really up their game. So there's just so many use cases. And I saw Ryan posting about it, using it for information and data in the CRM. I mean, that's another thing too. You can cleanse your data, download your CSV, dedupe, identify, possible uh, household people that might have different names or phone numbers that the CRM hasn't merged together. So there's a lot of different use cases. And the coolest part about it is you can actually train it and command it to be something. I want you to be X. This is your manual that you must abide by. You need to do X, Y, and Z. And once you create this persona and this role for the AI, it then will act amongst that. And then you can ask it to acknowledge. Please acknowledge what I've just told you. I acknowledge that my job is an XYZ, and as an XYZ, I will do A, B, and C. And it says, please proceed with the examples or the items that I need to address. Right. And so that's other use cases for it too.
Yeah, putting together maybe a short PDF with some of the different prompts and how they could be applied at the car dealership. That I'm sure that would go off really
Yeah,
well.
I was working on one for the CXO, and I gave a packet out to guys at the CXO that I was at before Brian's DMSC. And Alex, I'll send it over to you if you want to make it available to people on DealerRefresh.
Yeah,
They're not dealer
yeah,
specific,
absolutely.
but they're great prompts for creativity, copywriting, AI generated video ideas, Facebook posts, things like that. And I'll
Mhm.
spruce it up a little bit to be more auto specific. But I think our community here would benefit from it.
No, without
Yeah,
a
we'd love to host that for you.
yeah.
Yeah, it'd be great. So what else is new and exciting in the industry? What have you guys heard that we want to jump into? Because my gosh, it's moving fast. Cars aren't moving.
You already wore me out.
Grosses are dropping a bit.
Yeah,
Were you?
actually, it's been interesting on the cars not moving front. I mean, it's very like dealership specific right now. So, and brand,
Oh yeah.
so which brands are shipping out new cars at the moment is having significant effect over everything else, and it's wild. Yeah.
What's
It
the
really
Bard?
it goes back to. Say it again.
No, I was just asking what Bard was. This Google
Oh, that's
Bard.
Oh,
Google's.
Bard is the Google version of their GPT, and I saw that
Okay.
question. I'm not thrilled yet. It's still very clunky as far as I feel. I think they've got some work to do, but that's everybody.
Yeah. Gotcha.
I like to think of it as barf. And think of Spaceballs.
Yeah, and that's Kevin. You're right, man. The rooftop pricing for CDP is going to have to be something that I don't call them the cereal box, but the out of the box ready to go solution providers are going to have to realize that you want to charge me $4,000 a month. I'm not going to pay you 40 grand for 10, 80 grand, for 20. It's going to have to be an enterprise level solution, especially for somebody like a Kevin Fry. But Kevin, I mean, someone like you should be looking at more enterprise level CDPs. I'm not sure if that's going to be the right solution. You're talking about moving cars. Yeah, the cars are going to be very dealer specific. It just goes back, Alex, to how do we sell? How do we, finesse our customer? How do we engage the customer? Back in the day, a year ago, we either had the car and you wanted to pay my crazy price or get lost. Now that customer goes back to the internet, types in the same thing, goes to the next dealer. They have it below MSRP. You just lost a sale,
Mm-hmm. But also
which is big. And
interesting. Um, so we've done a little research at Frickin' Tech on equity positions and whatnot, and we've seen people playing in our tool since January. The equity positions increased $2,000. So the beginning of January, the average equity is a little over $7,000. Now it's over $9,000. And
Is it really?
what really brought this home for me was Memorial Day weekend. So we were jumping from one party to another. And as people were either I was meeting them and realizing I was in the car business or whatever it was, they're like, hey, like I can't, I've been waiting, man. I went to try and buy a car. The prices were obnoxious. I'm not spending $5,000 over sticker on a car. So, but my car is paid off. Like, when should I get rid of this thing? When's this market going to change? And so that's what I think there's a lot of still pent up demand out there. There are people who are realizing, oh shit, this used car that I'm sitting on right now is worth a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and I probably need to do something to take advantage of it, but I'm just not willing to pay the big sticker price.
That's why you're seeing all these really, really shitty trucks for sale.
yeah, yeah.
Like
Really quickly,
they
Ryan asked
put
the
no
question.
initiative. They just go out and take the most crap photos. And like, they're driving this thing every day. It's like, well, if someone gives me a great offer, I'll take it. Otherwise, I'm
Yeah. Yeah, really quick, Ryan Leslie asked about the hallucinations with the Chat GPT. I don't have an exact percentage for you, but I can tell you from a session that I recently sat in with some good data, it's stated that GPT is about 20% of the hallucination, so it's about 80% accuracy. When you think about that, I believe medical tests, you only have to pass with a 60%. And so, that's kind of horrifying when you think about that. Who's treating you in the hospital versus an AI bot that's usually about 80% right. The hallucinations you have to fact check. I would never take certain facts from GPT and just run with them. You're gonna always want to fact check them.
yeah. I
I
was
just saw
I
that
heard
pop
of
up
the
in
listen.
the chat as well.
hallucinations. Like, it's an AI on mushrooms or something now. Or?
Yeah, well, that's what they call them, the hallucinations. Well,
Well,
because the way
they're
it goes,
they
it's
just
kind of
make up their
generated.
own shit, don't they?
In
I don't
essence,
know.
yeah.
I think I was listening to a podcast or something earlier this week, and I guess it was I think it was a lawyer had used something, was using Chat AGP, and they, man, I'll have to go back and find that. It was funny, but basically, it made up. I guess that's what would be considered a hallucination. It just made up fake trials. and wrote about them and spit out all this wrong
Oh,
information.
yeah.
I didn't know it was
And it
called
does do that. It
hallucinations.
does.
What Kevin say?
Yeah, so he's saying
Current
that
job market website
high
conversion,
interest.
online financing approval, high interest rates are slowing the market. Yeah, interest rates are going to do that, and it's going to
Yep.
slow the market tremendously. But Kevin,
It's
you're ahead of the curve. I mean, your advertising's sharp. So if it's there to be hooked, I would imagine you're there.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. I know that he's saying per Insera data. So there's not one thing that's shifting the market at all. It's definitely not the interest rates alone. It's also the high price of vehicles. You know, you can put those two together. It all equals one thing, and that's the one thing that customers are all care about. It's what's my payment?
Payment.
So if the payment's too high, they ain't buying the car, and it's that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Payments are
if
high.
but people don't. I you know, I sold cars in the '90s, and a phenomenal interest rate was 9%. So,
Yep.
like, yeah, people didn't come in and say, you know, what's my interest rate on this car? They said, what's my payment? You know, and it was always the
Yep.
payment. So,
Yeah. You're right about the interest rates.
And that's where
Yeah.
we
In
are.
the late 90s, early 2000s, it was, I mean, a great rate was 6.5.
yeah, right up until basically October of 2001.
Yeah. Yep. So how are you using this technology with this new company or service that you've started? Give us a
Yeah,
lowdown on that.
yeah. What's happening
You
with
want to jump into this? So I basically kind of had some time on my hands. But when I was at Cardinale, which we had quite a few stores, and when I was in Chicago, what used to always irritate me was the fact that you could never get rid of negative reviews. You always had to bury them, which meant you had to layer more tech on top, ask for more reviews, more POP, which don't get me wrong, fresh, high quality, high star reviews are really important. So I wanted to find a way that I could get these negative reviews removed effectively without having to pull my hair out. So with the usage of some technology and with the use of humans, because it is a very manual process at first, we've been able to go into an account since the beginning of time, and we can identify some negative reviews. We're able to get a large percentage of them removed, which naturally is going to increase your Google rating. From research that I had seen at Shift most recently, a tenth of an increase can increase your phone calls by about 70, which when you think about someone at a 3.8, if they jump to a 4.8, that's quite a bit of phone calls that they can increase.
Yeah.
Sales and service. So that was kind of, we were just running it. It was running as part of local SEO. And I've been working with someone for a long time, for about 7 years in my career, on the retail side, 8 years, with different tech, whether it was voice search, SEO, reviews, review removal. And basically what we've done is we've created a system that allows us to go into your Google business page, identify negative reviews, and from that point, we're able to get a good chunk of them removed. I can't tell you how many. I have to go in there and look at each one, but at such a low monthly cost, it's almost a no-brainer for anyone, whether you're a dealership or a restaurant or anything like that. It's almost negligible to not have something like this, just because the way people respond. And when you think about it, without giving away the keys to the castle, people generally don't respond calm, cool, and collected. They don't write eloquent reviews that belong in a frame. So when you can identify why these reviews should not be posted, it allows us to push the envelope harder to get them removed. And so I think back to one of my Nissan stores. I was at 2.6. And man, we just kept trying to get more and more positive reviews. 2.6, 2.7. Up, another one came in, 2.6, 2.7. Without doing anything more, I just started running this system. I was at a 4.1 in 4.5 months. Then I came out east and I joined a small startup, and I had a Mitsubishi point out here, and we were at 2 point something. I don't remember. It was low. It's a typical Mitsubishi point. And they are now above 4. And again, all we did was just clean things up, run this technology, and create a system that allows them to, capture these reviews that are not supposed to be posted and get them removed. So out came Review Assassin, and at $300 a month, I just don't see why anyone would ever bat an eyelash. I think of all the stores I've been in, if someone said to me, "Hey Gray, I can clean up your Google business page, remove your negative reviews, not all of them, but a large percentage of them, I can guarantee that your Google rating will increase within 90 days, and it's only $300 a month with a one-time cleanup fee, and it's a 6-month commitment. Are you interested? At first, I'd look at them and say, "You're so full of, X, Y, Z. How are you
That's what
going to
I
do
would
that?"
say.
And of course, I would say something much worse, Jeff. I'd go, "So how does this work?" And then they said, "Well, here's what we're going to do," and da 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 da. And I go, "Okay, well, I'd be skeptical." So then I would say, "Well, let's try it out. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't." I've done that. It never worked. So having run this now on 45 different dealer business pages, I feel confident where we can offer a money back guarantee. And it brings me back to my dealer on days. It mitigates all risk for the dealer. There's nothing but positive improvement to go on. If you don't see a Google rating increase within 90 days, I'll give you your money back. And so far, I wouldn't have to write a check yet.
Is this just for Google reviews?
It is for now. I'm currently working on trying to get it with Yelp. That's a harder one, but I'm
Yeah.
definitely in that testing phase of Yelp, and I'm looking at some of the other ones as well. Um, Thanks, Kevin. I'll have to tell them where I am. But yeah, it can. Right now, it's Google specific, which is why the low
Okay.
cost of the 300 makes the most sense. And Google feeds a lot of other systems as well. And I believe as they continue to push the VLAs and everything else, it's just going to be a visual. It's going to be a visual representation of your business. And so, if you're a 4.6, for example, and that just bothers you. Used to be at a 4.8, and you've done everything you can. Reputation, it's hard to. What's that?
It's
I,
Yeah,
I like
Jamie, I don't
these
know. I gotta have a
asking
call with
too.
Alex. Let me call Better and see if there's a way we can work that one out.
I'd call
But
that
the
Jamie
idea is to
guy.
try it on different platforms. That's that.
I'd call that Jamie guy.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So when you go to
Is
the
yeah.
there
So
Yelp
dealer
side,
rate, dealer rate is one of those that you have to pay them, and if you pay them, they'll remove your reviews. If you're on a subscribe package, I've had success. If you're a dealer, getting my stuff on Dealer Rate or cleaned up or somehow buried. It's just not so prevalent.
I mean, other than make sure I frame this the right way. Other than is there any question around the ethical side of that of having
Not at
those?
all.
I
It's
mean, if you
all above the
a
line.
lot of times if you have a bad review, it's because you messed up on the dealership level, and maybe you deserve that bad review, and there's an opportunity to
Sure.
correct your previous actions and make it better. Um, but there's also some reviews out there that we all know darn well that are full of crap. Uh, I don't know. I go after negative reviews. I mean, other than probably the last 2 years prior to that, it was like, man, we need a negative review because it just looked so fake.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and you can identify. We can leave some. You don't have to remove all of them. They're all not going to get
okay,
removed. The only ones that are going to get removed are special ones that we feel to be, in specific violation of certain policies.
yeah, this
like every
has
review
got
on
me.
Yelp,
Well, so that's the problem with Yelp. I've probably run this on quite a few different Yelp reviews, and they're very loosely written structure. And so it's very hard to hold them accountable saying, this review doesn't meet your specs and this review is, and that's the thing with Yelp. So I'm trying with Yelp to try and find an angle. And again, training AI, looking at contextualization. Yelp is a hard one, but Google was an easier one. And I've been running it for 6 to 9 months and had great success with it. So I started talking with Michael, who I've been running this with, and said, "Hey, man, like let's bring this to market." I'm like, I've got tons of people in the automotive space. I know they'd love to hear about it for the cost of 300 a month, 6-month commitment, small one-time cleanup fee. People would love to have this. And then the second phase of this would be once
Why would you need it
the
monthly
reviews come
though?
in. What's that?
Why would you need it monthly? If you got
It
reviews
does
out
take
there, a
about. It
couple that
does
you want to
take.
get
It
rid of
does
them,
take.
takes a while.
No, it takes
You
2 to
gotta
6
you
months to get
your
everything really
program has to
cleaned
be
up
able to go
right.
out, find out who it was, and hunt them down and assassinate them.
Yeah. Something like that. But it takes about the 2 to 6 months to really clean it up. After 6 months, it's then just maintenance. And so if you're a high volume
Okay,
dealership and you're not really paying attention to it and you don't have the
true.
skills or the programs or the ability to identify what doesn't deserve to be there, for $300, just know that it's taken care of behind the scenes. If something comes in, it doesn't fit, we take care of it, and we let you know that it's been removed. So it's more of just kind of a safeguard. And the reason why I think the $300, thanks, Kyle, the $300 is that's the cost of pizza lunch, for a dealership, if you're getting decent
I'm
pizzas.
intrigued.
So I look at the cost of something that's completely negligible. You're looking at, $1,800 for 6 months and a one-time clean fee. You're looking at roughly $3,600 for the year. Not a bad safeguard.
And what was the stat you recited earlier? I think you said it came from
Yeah, from Shift Digital, it said that for, I believe, every
Shift.
10th of a point that your rating increases, they estimate about 70 phone calls can increase. And you got to think about your rating. If you're a 4.3 and somebody else is a 4.4, they're going to be favored over you. 4.4 to 4.5. These tenths of points really do matter. And and when you think about it, I have someone, even my BMW store that was a 4 point, I don't even remember. They went up a couple points. It's sometimes this will be for we have a real mess that we need to clean up. For others, it could be a tool of pride. I was at a 4.8. I'm now at a 4.6, and I've tried everything I can. Here we go. Let's try and get back to a 4.8.
Okay.
And that's really who the market is. Now, do I expect people to stay on this forever? Probably not. But if this was a biannual or an annual thing, I think it's something that's needed. Now, if you're a dealer that's constantly getting bad reviews, i.e., a subprime operation, this is the perfect tool for you because then you don't even have
Yeah,
to
I
think
can
about
see
it.
that.
Just think. I
Yeah, I
mean, I
can
don't know
see
how
that.
many 1 stars you're getting over there at Mercedes compared to say Mitsubishi, Nissans, Kias, Hyundais, and everyone else that's
No,
doing the subprime
that's why I
piece.
say I welcome a negative review from time to time because otherwise, it just I'm sure the readers don't think it's phony, but positive
Yeah, well,
review
you
after
definitely want to
positive review and
respond.
never anything negative does look a little phony. But they're all
It
legit.
does, and so you never want to eradicate it fully. But at the same time, what I want to be able to do in the future, and in the next phase of Review Assassin, is
Yeah.
to have the dashboard that allows you to look at it and say, do you want to keep this review or kick it through?
Well, you're definitely
Laugh at
coming
it,
up with
Ryan's
the right thing
comment.
at the right time because from my anecdotal reviews, negative reviews for car dealerships have taken a nice increase over the past 2 years. I think people are
They have.
just bigger assholes. They have less patience.
Well,
It just seems like COVID did that. I don't
It
know.
destroyed them.
what about five
Yeah.
grand over
Yeah,
sticker?
if I yeah, $5,000 over sticker will do it
And
as
well, hold
well.
on. Maybe not the $5,000 over sticker so much, but it's the what Gray you were hitting on earlier. Like it's just the fact that our salespeople were order takers for a while. They weren't selling.
Yeah, that's it. And they didn't even care about the person. It was Mary Joe. It's 5 grand over sticker. You're either going to pay it or goodbye. There's somebody at the door coming in for the next one.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we're in that opens a whole nother conversation for a whole nother session there, Alex, is the glut that we're in for as an industry over the next 12 to 24 months because the habits don't change. Spending does, but certain habits of liking a fresh new car every 3 years, maybe 4 years, every 2 to 3, these people are going to want to get out of these cars. They're going to be rolling in and be like, "Oh, you owe 15,000 more than it's worth." What? The
Hmm.
negative equity is going to be insane, and we're already seeing it on some of the cars. So
Mhm.
what
Yeah,
happens now?
yeah.
If they don't buy,
You're definitely introducing this at the right time.
oh yeah, for sure. And I think it's huge because I think also, as I mentioned to you, Alex, beforehand, consumers as we hit this recession or we talk ourselves into it, and based off economics, people start tightening the wallets, and then they start looking at where do I want to give my business to. And if you've got a bunch of stuff that's within the last 6 months that just doesn't seem very favorable, this is something that can help clean that up because it's going to be a make or break moment, especially when everybody has 15 Civic LXs on their lot, on their drive. And the choice is why? Why should I choose you?
Yep.
Yeah,
So I don't want to, and from an ethics perspective, this is all above the line. There's nothing dirty here. There's nothing black hat. This is 100% ethical. I would never put my name on it if it wasn't.
So
I am very curious.
I'm
Yeah,
sure.
Very,
I mean, I was trying to choose. I'm happy to show you the
curious.
I'm show you the behind the curtain, but it's pretty remarkable stuff. I mean, I was showing somebody on the airplane the other day. I was like, check this out. they were a business owner. And I was like, well, let me see your business. And I'm like, find me your most heinous 1-star review. And he goes, okay. So I take it and I put it through the system, and his eyes were just like, it was like boom, boom, like all these violations done. So
So, Gray, I'm sure there are going to be some people who are going to want to reach out to learn more because you've been keeping the secret sauce pretty secret in this show. And
yeah.
you're masterful marketing, by the way. How could they do that if they don't know you personally, like most of the people commenting do?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's very simple. Alex, you can either put my cell phone number up on, they can shoot me a text. Or if you want to go to reviewassassin.com, RevieWassassin, spell that 10 times really fast.
Or S.
Reviewassassin.com. They'll be able to check it out. There's a form there. There's a little explainer video so that you can really get an idea of what it's about and how it works. And then at that point, I would just reach out to you, and I need management access to your Google business page. Everything's done electronically. If someone wants to move forward and do something, they get the rating increase guarantee or your money back. So it's all in writing and everything's done electronically.
Perfect. I'll make sure we have that linked over from the forums as well.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, if anybody wants any interest in it, if you're a large operation, you're like, Kevin, this is something I could probably talk to you about at an enterprise level, how we could, do something for at a larger scale and just kind of get the technology in your operation. So there's a lot of different
going straight after
options
you, Kevin.
here of what to do.
He's already negotiating, guys. So.
Kevin. I know I've known Kevin, but someone like him, I don't know if when it's almost like when you look at, I was saying this to somebody else, the economies of scale. When someone's paying $2,000 a store, and that's not what we cost. Well, let's say it was $2,000 a store, and you got 50 stores. Now you're paying $1.2 million a year. It may not be worth it. You could hire somebody, or you could build it, or you can go overseas. So that's why I say with large groups, sometimes it's better just look at what does it take to do internally and build it. And that's just that's the inner dealer inside of me coming out. So, well, thank you guys for letting me come on here and talk about it a little bit. It's really exciting. I've been running it for 6 to 9 months in all my stores. And when I finally get settled back into retail at the right location, my plan is to run this in my stores as well. It's just super effective. And again, at $300 a month, it's almost like it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, wait,
Gray.
Gray, it's always a pleasure, man. We really appreciate it.
As seen on
TV.
TV.
No problem. Thanks for having me, guys.
Grizzly Adams
Gray. On TV.
Yes.
All right. Guys. Thanks, Gray. Best of luck, and let us know how.
Thank you, guys. If you need anything, have them reach out to me. And Alex, you're welcome to post my cell phone number and then the URL as well. Thanks, guys. Happy Friday.
See ya.
All right. Take care.